It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
I understand we got a special guest on the line. We've got the former state senator, Bryan King, is back with us. Bryan, how you been, sir?
Hey, you're doing good. Just working and,
Working,
making payments and paying my taxes and stuff.
Yep, doing the right thing. Well, I'm just curious. The session, 92nd General Assembly session's over. Were you watching things that were happening from afar back home?
Well, I still read the propaganda out of a lot of the newspapers that we see, and of course the article today popped up. And
what do you think about that article today? Governor Hutchinson says that the 92nd General Assembly was, quote, the greatest of all time.
Well, I just go back to see my real life is being a farmer, and it's that old saying, wait till the hay's in the barn, wait till whatever you want to say about the session and this and that. And I saw a lot of things and a lot of debatable things happen, but you have to wait. And, of course, they go to the liberal people to give their assessment of his, comment. And, of course, they go back to expansion of government type things. But I would say probably one of the greatest sessions that turned out was even before I came, when Governor Huckabee was down there. And then when he left, leaves almost $1 billion surplus. And that session in 2007 that I came in, which I can't take credit for it. Give the credit to Governor Huckabee. We only did what he left. And he leaves almost $1 billion surplus. We have the largest tax cutting, not tax raising, not raising this, taking money out of one person's pocket, trying to give it to another one. And, the largest tax cutting session in Arkansas history happened in 2007 because of the work of Governor Huckabee and legislative leaders before when I came in. And we gave $456 million to schools. That was money in the bank that went out into construction that we might have disagreed how that might have been spent, better spent in highways or less in schools or this, that. But the fact is, you had money in the bank. I really am like, today's society is more about what you say than what you produce later, because you're just going to try to talk your way out of it or lie or get out of it once things don't turn out the way they do. I don't know how anybody can sit there and say something like that, even if it was Bryan King, when you don't even know the results yet. That just blows my mind.
Have you been following all of the tax increases that happened this session? And I know we have some Republicans who are saying are going to try to tweak the numbers and make it seem like it was somehow a net tax cut. But we have other Republicans. Matter of fact, I saw a Facebook post by State Representative Jim Dotson, who said, you know what, the bottom line is this: the people are going to be paying more money after this 92nd General Assembly.
Yeah, there's going to be more paid in taxes than there will be given out. That's what happens in today's world. That's why. We go back to the history. This is not a surprise. This is a product of what's been happening down there. We have all these Republicans oppose Obamacare. What do? They go down there and implement Obamacare in a more expensive form of Obamacare. And then 2015, let's go back to Jim Hendren, how, the private option is going to end, but it didn't end. Okay. It just has kept going. And so, it just keeps going. That's why this is such a perplexing time today, to sit there and see how, the results of things doesn't matter. They just repackage it, lie, whatever they need to do. And then what you see now is they try and attack you personally and just tell lies about you and misinterpret anything you say towards them to get the focus off of what is really happened down there, is that, they're going to pay more taxes. But there's no accountability in the truth out there in the media. There's some good reporters out there, and I think they've ever heard me say that. They know who I think they are. But yet, if you look at what's happened up there at the Capitol and the reporting, it's like this article. I don't know. It just is very troubling to see what's been going on. and just keep fighting it. I don't sit there and back down. The other day, John Moritz, who covered some of the Senate Judiciary Committee meetings, was disparaging Jeremy Hutchinson. And you know what? I called him out on Twitter. The guy never answers. I mean, you know why? Because he protected Jeremy Hutchinson. There was exchanges between me and Jeremy Hutchinson. He never did. He disparaged me and tried to protect Jeremy Hutchinson. And then now everything's come out bad. He's starting to say things.
What were your thoughts? I mean, Jeremy Hutchinson indicted for the second time last week on charges that we thought he was going to be indicted the first time. This was the bribes that he was allegedly taking from Preferred Family Health Care. What were your thoughts on that, considering that you ran a Medicaid disclosure bill several times that could never pass? Four times that would have required Jeremy Hutchinson to disclose he was getting $9,000 a month from a Medicaid provider for doing no legal work.
Yeah, but you can have all the laws you want to, and if they don't pay attention to them, remember this ban on lobbying thing, and then you had John Burris, he's a consultant. You had this ban on lobbying, yet they find jobs for Johnny Key and all these other government jobs that are not lobbying, but they're government rewards. I mean, they're rewards for. So there's so many ways to get around it. And, in fact, in a debate on the Senate floor, I asked Jeremy Hutchinson, "Do you disclose who your clients are?" And he said yes. He lied. He just lied. I mean, I just and no questions, nothing about Jim Hendren and his involvement with Jeremy. You've got to see Michael Lamoureux mentioned. You see court documents came out even a while back. It's been some time that somehow Cranford was working with the governor at that time to get a convicted murderer out earlier or something like that. A convicted felon, let's say. No questions. Nobody asked anything about that. You have Senator F that comes out in this last thing. No questions about that. So, it's almost like something has to come out in court documents where they have to see it. But,
yeah.
Back on this point, my gosh, I just even Governor Beebe would not have said something like that. I mean, it just... You're
talking about Ace's comments that this was the greatest of all time, the greatest session of all time? That's what you're talking about?
Yeah. I don't know. But like I said, once you live in a world down there right now where nobody questions anything, no one says anything, and, they look around and they think, well, you're going to have like a race like mine where you're going to have $200,000+ of dark money for these cowards that fund these races, to sit there and, tell lies about you. I mean, somebody brought up the other day, Americans Prosperity rated me the same as Will Bond and Joyce Elliott. I mean, ouch. And so would you say crooked and rigged on that deal to try and make things? But it just hopefully is anything, the truth will finally come out. And, like I said, I just can't even believe in today's world was you have to wait and see what the end thing is. But that's not the way it goes today. Today you just go out and say whatever, promise anything, lie whatever, and then 2 years later when it turns out bad, you recraft it. You recraft your words, and then you'd say, well, it wasn't that, it was this, and you're being mean, a bully. I always love it whenever people have personal attacks and stuff like that, and I see that with Jim Hendren, too. He's a classic example. He does that to get the focus off of what he's done.
Now talk about that, Bryan. Expand on that. The idea that you would just make something personal. You're saying that deflects from looking at the substance. Let's say if you have grown government or you've raised taxes or you've kind of taken the progressive way of governing, and you know the people don't want it. Are you saying that it's just much easier if you make it personal? Then then you get the emotional, which is what the liberals do. They like to have emotional arguments, not fact-based arguments.
Yeah, I mean, it's all today. It's not even conservative. Literally, it's in the person where they just say, "Oh, you're being mean and you're a bully and you can never be happy." You remember how for years down there they said that about me, and that's all they kept saying is, Bryan's just mean. He's a bully, and that's what to get the focus off of actually what because they want to get the focus off of what you're saying and the facts. They don't want to tackle that.
Yeah.
All they want to say is this, and it's always that I'm a victim, never the cause.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say it, it's working. And unfortunately, one reason why it's working is because they feed the money machine. As long as they can give $50 million back in tax cuts and then take $70 million over here, and they have a net $20 million. They can take that $20 million and they feed the Medicaid mafia. The Medicaid mafia down there has literally ran the system in Arkansas, and it still does today. And you can see why bills fail and why debate doesn't happen. And just like I said, this thing with all the corruption going on down there. And, it took years for me to see it. I mean, there was a lot of times I didn't want, you just didn't think it or something was odd, and then later it comes out. And now I look back and see a lot of different things. At the time, when you're in that whirlwind, you don't see it. But this is what happened. This is a classic example of why we are different than them. Okay? Mm-hmm. Because you go out there with facts and everything like that, question them and everything, well, then it's the victim mentality, or it's I did the greatest thing ever. Well, you get to focus on the comment except what happened. And of course, a lot of the media, the Capitol reporters down there, they're just part of the propaganda machine. I mean, my gosh, look at what's come out in court documents. There's been a mountain of things that need to be investigated, questioned, everything like that, and there's nothing. I mean, there's some coming out with some of them, but yet there has been so much more related back to the Hutchinson and the Hendrons and all that, and they say nothing. I mean, Jim Hendron, once again, $4,000 to Jake Files, who winds up in prison for bribery. No more further questioning on that. You can interchange money between legislators, no problem. So you've had no payment, no obligation loans, nothing on that. And, like I said, once again, it's all about that. And then the response back is, well, you're mean, or you're a bully, or you're attacking my war record, or you're doing this or that, anytime you question them. And so it gets the focus off, and the media is all too willing, a lot of the media, not some of them, a lot of the media is all too welcome to help purport that.
Yeah. We're talking with former Senator Bryan King. You mentioned real quick some of these other people who've been mentioned in guilty pleas or indictments, Senator A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I mean, we might be setting a record for using the most letters of the alphabet to describe political actors in indictments. You think there are more people who haven't been indicted, and if so, is it because you think maybe they're cooperating with the government?
I don't know, and just because you've been named in something does not mean you've done something wrong. And so I'm not saying that. What I will say is that there has been a cabal down there that has protected each other to the point that they fought any type of disclosure or any type of question that went to the heart of trying to find out what the true motivation is to try and do that. I mean, we had it in court. Once again, when we talk about nothing reported on, we have it in court documents that a legislator was talking about trading his vote for the private option or other money that they got kickbacks out of. No reporting on it. No questions asked. I'm just saying questions asked. I'm not even saying something's wrong. I'm not even saying something's criminal. But once again, I mean, I don't know how you could sit back and look. Like I said, it took a while for me to see it. I mean, I'll admit that. And it took a while to kind of grasp your head. But the turning point to me was when it was reported out, when Lamoureux got the $120,000. I mean, we knew Gilbert Baker was getting that money and everything. Okay. When Lamoureux got the $120,000 from Faith and Freedom to do consulting work, for his answer was to recruit candidates and inform people on issues. That's what he was reported as saying. Okay? I was a Republican leader, 2009, recruited candidates, raised money, did all this stuff. You know what, Paul? I did it out of my own pocket. okay, I didn't get a consulting fee. He didn't even think about it. And these people now that go out there and try and defend themselves in taking money, can you make mistakes or bad judgments or something like that and everything down there in that whirlwind you don't know and don't trust it? Yes. But the fact is, Lamoureux and Jeremy Hutchinson, just what's been outlined in court documents alone, okay, they're innocent until proven guilty. I have my own opinion about it. But you could look at it, it's totaled $1.5 million or so. I mean, we're not talking about, a steak dinner at Doe's or something. We're talking about Jeremy Hudson's been outlined that he got payments for almost totaling $1 million in two entities alone.
And and he was using his position to essentially pass legislation, hold up budget. Hey, this I couldn't believe this, Bryan. When the Gazette was reporting, or excuse me, the court, the indictment of Jeremy says that he held up budgets in order to get the bills passed that were favorable for preferred family health care. I thought to myself, wow, this should be big news. Do you remember when the conservatives were trying to hold up the DHS budget to try to, use the Constitution to stop funding for Obamacare Medicaid expansion? And they were doing it legally, and they were, supposed to be the scourge of humanity. And yet here's Jeremy, who was doing it illegally, and, it gets reported, but there's not nearly the amount of outrage.
Well, we all hold up budgets. I held up budgets too. We all requested audits. We did those things, and we did it based on people and everything. And a lot of times, I think a lot of these people, some of these people down there, have got led into things because they didn't see what was behind the scenes. Certainly, I didn't see so much like with Lamoureux until the $120,000 come out. And, I mean, that's just a straight check. I mean, if you're making $40,000 a year, that's 4 years of work you would have to do to make $40,000 a year. He made it in one check for doing something that and in his answer in public was really downright embarrassing, to say the least.
Yeah, and to remind
everybody. But there's no questions about that. If you start questioning things about that, you start saying something, well, then here they come. And then here the Medicaid mafia comes in, funding dark money. There is a documentary out there that you Google. It's called Dark Money, and it's on Montana and all the races up there. And it's from a left perspective, but people really need to watch that. And it shows this, and, it just allows these groups to do whatever they want to. And, there's things that go on with money and things like that that are okay. Mm. I mean, that could pass. But it's not whenever you're, trying to expose corruption and things like that. And that's why I'm for, in all this money, if you want to get down to the root of everything, it's just no limits and open disclosure.
Yes.
Nowhere who's funding who what.
I agree, 100%. I think that would solve the problem. Senator Bryan King, former Senator Bryan King, it's always great to have you on. I really appreciate your perspective, sir. Thank you for spending time with us.
Yeah, I'm going back to work.
All right, going back to work. We've got to take a break here. I do want to point out in this article, this article that where Asa Hutchinson says that it was the greatest session of all time. They go over some of the achievements. Quote, the legislature also made changes to fund 9/11 systems more efficiently. Made changes. What exactly were those changes? Oh, yeah, increasing your cell phone tax bill. That's right. But the Gazette calls it, they made changes. They raised your taxes to do it. Unbelievable. Back in a minute.